Blessings, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, good night, good day to all of you. I'm the one and only Mr. LP of Enliven Global Media. And thank you for joining us today, June 12th, 2025. Today is going to be a very good show. First and foremost, we know the weather has been picking up in and out, all that type of good stuff, but hopefully that it is good where you're at, that you're safe, that you're cool, that you're not out in heat too much going on, and you're doing what you need to do to protect yourself, you and your family, and plenty of water. And please be kind to those out there who do not have a home or a cooling center and stuff like that. Please share water, your time, whatever it can to help the next person. And today we're going to have a great show about, America's burning, and we got so many things to talk about. But first and foremost, I want to introduce my wonderful co-host, my partner in crime, my dear best friend, and everything else, Miss Wonderful Raw Silk. How are you doing today?
Fine, Mr. LP. Good evening, everybody. Looking forward to another great conversation.
Indeed, indeed, indeed. I wonder how much trouble we're going to start today. We'll see what we
I
can do.
don't know. It wouldn't be no fun if not a little bit.
Indeed, indeed. Sorry for any technical issues we may have. We're trying to work it out. The sun, internet service, whatever. It's all good in the neighborhood, as they say, but we're going to make it work itself out. But today's title of today's show is called Empire in Flames, America at the Edge of Collapse. And I know some of you are like, what in the world is Stephen talking about this time? But we really got a problem. Um, you know, America's on fire, and literally and figuratively, from the streets filled with protests over immigration, injustice, dangerous rhetoric, people using, pushing us towards war. We're close to stuff going on in Iran and Russia. And I know people say, "Oh, that got nothing to do with me." It has every little bit about you with your family and how things cost during war times, everything else, and escalating tensions of China over Taiwan. We're witnessing the U.S. and the world, but definitely the U.S. Unraveling in real time. And this is not about fear mongering. I want people to understand. We are about telling the truth. Our motto is we tell the truth. And the systems we're taught to trust are breaking down. Personal and your own personal faith, definitely you got to hold on to. But, all the other systems out there are just breaking down. The empire is shaking. And by 2026, I don't believe we may no longer have the power anymore. I don't believe we have it now, but truly, I feel that American empire is going to break down. So tonight, we're going to unpack about 10 reasons why the American empire may fall as we dissect the reality of foreign conflicts, and we shine light on the power and responsibility, people of color and community voices. And we're not here to try to make you panic. It's about preparation, perspective, and purpose. Even today, we saw you literally manhandling and putting a U.S. senator at a meeting today on the ground and pushing them out for asking a question. And this is a senator. You have representatives and state representatives being pushed out of rooms and where they have a right to check on people within their district, and you're keeping them away. We got military put against U.S. citizens and people on the ground. It's just crazy what we're seeing today, and it's just bad. If you don't get this man out of office, somebody's going to open fire. It really is. So before I start going off for the off of each one, what is your opening thoughts here?
So my opening thoughts is that when I was a little girl, I used to love going to the circus. I really absolutely hate the circus now. You put a clown in office, and what do you expect? You have a three-ring circus going on here. It is just unbelievable, but it's no surprise to me. We've talked about this. We've tried to warn people what was going to happen, and it fell upon deaf ears. Everybody thought differently. I'm kind of excited and chuckling because the very people who thought that this would seek and destroy us as a people, like a Scud missile, is actually turning around and happening to them. Um, I don't think that America needs a reset. I think what's happening to her absolutely needs to happen to her. It needs to be destroyed and rebuilt back up the way God intended it to be built. This is just foolishness. Okay, when you have a person, a governor of a state say that it's okay, he's given authorization for people to run over protesters with their cars. When the president of the United States deploys the National Guard and then does not provide any provisions for them, no shelter, no food, no nothing, and they're sleeping in the street, huddled up like stray dogs. This is just unbelievable, and it's laughable. It's humiliating because we always hear all of this patriotism and all of this love for the country. You know, 4th of July is coming. I never celebrate 4th of July anyway because it wasn't a holiday, it was inclusive of us. But how do the people who do celebrate this, how do the people who were so proud of this red, white, and blue, how do they celebrate now? How do they, in good conscience and faith, go, this is the greatest country in the world? I call bullshit.
Yes, ma'am. It is sad when the governor in Texas saying all these crazy things, and they're talking about, oh, L.A. would have burned. Really, L.A. was not. It was not going to go burn. And like, what did you expect when you go to one of the most diverse, culturally diverse cities in the land? L.A., New York, Miami, Chicago. What do you think was going to happen? You think that people were going to just idly stand by and not do anything? It's just like, what common sense you think everybody's just going to just bow down into? And what get me was Melania just sitting there looking all proud and smiling, happy. And you know, if you're going to deport somebody, you need to deport her and all the children. It's just that he's had. It's just wrong. You see, even Elon uh, apologizing and doing all these other
That
different
stuff
things.
was all fake. That stuff was to distract this bromance that they got going between them. Like,
It was a
who
setup.
bought that?
It was a setup. It was a
Who
setup.
bought that?
Yeah, it was a setup for the shakeup, just because. And you notice when everything something gets a little bit quiet, just a tad bit quiet. Oh, I'm going to start stir some stuff up just to
Exactly.
keep my attention. But one of the first things I'm going to go to the top reasons why American empire is going to go down. I'm going to break these down one by one. Economic inequality. You know, there's a growing wealth gap for years and decades, you know, between the social unrest and weakening the middle class. And it's the impact of income disparity on social cohesion, policies contributing to wealth concentration, and long term economic sustainability. Um, how has, from your opinion, how has the growing wealth gap in the U.S. impacted yourself personally or professionally in the community? And do you believe that from an economic side, there's a whole bunch of different things we can go into with the second part of the question, but do you believe that the American dream is still available from an economic standpoint?
Was it ever?
No.
I mean, the playing field has never been even. It has never been to the benefit of BIPOC um people. So like, again, we ask questions and stuff that we already know. It's never been, it's never been a balance. You know, I had this conversation earlier with somebody. Something as simple as our developments across the country, you can look at them way back when they were first developed, for the low poor class, working class Caucasians, and now look at them in their current state and how they're maintained now that most of the people that's in them look like us. Okay, so no, mm-mm. I don't ever think that it was even. I think that all of this has already been sown in the fiber of what America has always been, and now unfortunately they had somebody that had scissors that's cutting all of the threads out and exposing everything that we already knew was there.
Right. Now, the world, for those who cannot believe that America is not a racist country, America just, sure, we got a little few problems like everybody else, but America is not a racist country. You cannot sit here and honestly say that to yourself anymore. You cannot when it's bold in your face.
Well, they
You do.
absolutely can because they don't want to believe it. It's like so funny whenever you read or you see things or something said that's factual that exposes America and the people for what they are, they come up with excuses. You're racist, you're baiting or whatever and stuff. Until we're ready to have transparent conversations, and I've said this over and over again, to all of my brothers and sisters, even out there that's listening to my voice, you need to be calling your white friends. You call them friends, okay? You go to their house, you eat dinner, they come to your house, you hang out, you go to the bars and stuff. Why are they silent? Because if they silent, then that means that they condone the foolishness that's going on. I
And,
don't need you to tell me when we're sitting at my barbecue how bad you feel. I need you to be out there telling them.
and what really gets me is I got several, but what I have one person that is not just standing by, but is telling their white friends and family members and such like that. Their family is pretty cool; they have no issues, but they telling other related people and such, and they're getting and the amount of and they knew it was coming, but the amount of blowback they get from their other white constituents and things like that. Oh, you just a N-word lover, or all these other things that they go through. One lady in Chicago, I know, called me. She was standing by and things like that. And while she was at the school visiting her son for an event and pick up, they slashed her tires and broke her window. And they drove off because her son, was playing with some other kids and stuff and all about immigration and things like that. But because she's been standing against you know, ICE should not be going into the schools and picking up children or, busting inside churches. And she's made some comments about that and stopped. I'm sorry, telling her to stop. But because she's been protesting, other white people are now after them. It's just to see this level of hate for those who go through. And she was saying that she has a hard time explaining to her son and I'm sorry, her grandson that because he was not raised with this hate. He didn't care. And children don't know when what it's like until you show them, and it is really sad what goes on. The second thing, reason why is, and I just had everything in my face. I'm sorry. The second thing was political polarization. We have deepening tensions within the political parties that hinder governance, not just on the federal, but at state and local levels. Effects of partisan media. Obviously, I don't even know if we can have partisan media because now you see ABC got rid of one of their journalists for making an honest comment and reporting the news honestly. We've seen CNN and MSNBC bow down. The executive CNN bow down to one person, and they got rid of Joy Reid on MSNBC. Every time there's something going wrong, they're getting rid of the black journalists or the older ones that's speaking out. Even the conservative ones that's like, CBS and some of the other ones that's from old school. And they're saying, hey, this is wrong. This is looking like what it was back in the 60s and 70s. Get out, and firing these people. Challenges in passing bipartisan legislation and erosion of democratic norms. And these are things that's just wrong. And the things that you have today, you have to understand they came from social issues presented by the Democratic or independent parties. Um, how has, and I know this answer, but we're speaking in general, how has the political division affected, or will you foresee affecting everyday workplace, and what can we do to help bridge the ideological gap? And then the reason why I say that, I'm not looking for a bridge
No, you can.
with a bigot. Okay, there's no. I'm not looking for a bridge. I have no problem if you disagree on it from a conservative or progressive or certain aspects of that. I get it. I'm independent. Some things I'm big on conservative. Some things I'm progressive. But I'm not looking to make a men's and reach out to a hateful, xenophobic, bigot, racist jerk. There's no until they come out of that mode and that healing, they're not listening. So I'm not gonna waste my time and breath. I gotta work with the people that want to say, okay, because at the end of the day, that person and this person need to eat. I need a roof over my head. You need a roof over my head. But we see the lines because of my color of my skin. What? How can we fix this from a workplace and from a social issue, social life, I should say?
I think the key part here is number one, education, okay, and being receptive to education. I think that we've gotten way too comfortable, that we've gotten too complacent. I think that some of us think that we've arrived because of money and status, and if Puffy and R. Kelly didn't teach you absolutely anything, money and status means absolutely nothing when they want to remind you exactly who you are. And so I think that's a major portion. I think that we need to stop going to the very people who have oppressed us for so long, looking for them to be our savior and for a handout. I think self sufficiency is the only way to go. Um, it's not a new thing. The template has already been there with Tulsa and Black Wall Street, you name it. However, it's already been there. And so I just really think that we need to get back to basis because not only have we been effed up by others, but we keep doing it to ourselves. I was talking to somebody earlier and they said something so simple as you can't keep doing the same thing expecting to get different results. And we keep doing the same thing. You keep going to the very people who have oppressed you, the very people who constantly try to remind you in all different ways that we're never going to let you get ahead. We keep moving the finish line, moving the finish line. When do we start our own races? You follow what I'm saying, Mr. LP?
Right.
When do we start doing things for ourselves, our teaching and learning how to make our own this, stop spending our money, stop making excuses of why you have to go to, if we say this store is being blacked out, it's blacked out. Stop making excuses of why you could only go to that store to get something because they know once somebody break the line. It's like so funny because think about this, Mel LP. Think about way back in the days when unions really, first hit the forefront or whatever. If the union said that you were not crossing this line, you did not cross that line. There was no excuse. There was nothing. When back in the civil rights movement, if when Dr. King and them said we are not riding the bus,
We are
we
not
are
riding the
not
bus.
riding the bus. It's not, we're not riding the bus for 3 or 4. Well, that's the only way that I can get such and such. And then we would have never got the things that we got. The reason why is because while they're playing chess, we're keep playing checkers.
Exactly. We found ways to take care of our group for those who we knew needed to get to work. We found another way to get it done.
That's right.
And I'll give you another story. I've mentioned before when people came home for the war, World War One, two. Not all the soldiers got their uniforms. Not everybody was dropped off at the boat, and the family. You see all the pictures of World War One and two, and those who came back from Pearl Harbor, the attacks, those who survived, and all these other different things. And they didn't come with their medals or the things they came later, if at all. And they barely had a clothes on the back, and they sold their pants for like 10 cents, 5 cents for the shirt, 10 cents for the pants, or 7 cents. People were at home making it in these items, and then they were, met them off, and they dropped the soldiers off like 5 miles or 2 miles away from the destination. No, you got to walk because you couldn't get celebrated with the rest of them. So we took care of people, and we took care of those who took care of you, regardless of the color. But we definitely took care of our own people. And then now you see today, there's no unity. I think
Yeah.
there's just no unity. We can't even find a way to unite. Let
No.
me go. Let me go a different script. Let's look. Remember the self destruction thing, and what was it? Late '80s self destruction.
Hmm.
So we can't even unite a bunch of the rappers and things today because all the music is trash. There's nothing is like you can't sit there and say, "Hey, stop violence," this, that, and the other. But all your songs and everything else is about it. We don't have any unity. We don't even have the unity enough in our culture in terms of the entertainment world. If somebody was sick, so like bless her soul, Ananda Lewis passed. I'm not sure if it's true or not. I have not been able to find out at the time yet to research it, but something about she was possibly at some point in time financial distress. And what bothers me is that where's the unity where, okay, yes, she got insurance and yes, she has a name and things like that, but she's been pretty much out of the public eye for many years, over decades, because of her health. Where is our communities in the Black Hollywood or things like that, or people where you would think, okay, take care of her? I know the Johnson people don't own BT and all these other different things, so but you see that where's the unity? When we saw the young girl from In the House or anything else, and I know it may not seem in the same level, but I'm just giving examples of that. We don't have unity from the public sector, and so our when we don't do it in our local communities and within our families. So they're growing up and seeing this, and it's like, oh, why? We don't care. And they know they could drop a bomb on us because we're not going to get up there and fight. If this was happening right now in the late 60s, early 70s, we would have locked up DC. Was it Chocolate City? We were locked up DC, and nothing would have happened until you made changes. Now we're trying to protest, and now we have more people doing things, but it's just crazy. And we rather sit there, and but even with this immigration thing, and another lady I was having a conversation, but everybody's mad at this person, that person. Why? I have everybody, nobody, a human being is not illegal. That's just the bottom line. And it's not a crime, maybe a violation, but it's not a crime. And to be here. Third, you have every bit of right to me to eat, to live freely without being shot. You have a right for health care. You have a right to health, medicine, food, and a roof over your head and education, regardless of who you are. And to see keep dicing, this person got this person got this. They come over here. There's all the arguments about someone comes over here from a third world country, whatever, whether they have a record or not, they can come here, get a loan, get business thing, and start a business. And fans and the people here don't get anything. We saw where people in Europe we saw what they did with Asian Americans as well for the years, the model citizen, and then people get mad because of the stores they open and all these things. I get it. But none of it would have happened if we had unity and said we're not going to let this happen in our own watch and vote and get
Right.
involved. And I'm just not going to get mad in all these rumors of what someone got this, that, and that. I'm not into that. I could give less if somebody came over and I'm struggling to get housing and somebody came over and they got housing, a bed, and a cell phone, food. Good for you. That's and I know I'm speaking for myself, and I'm a humble man person because I don't want I don't want nobody to suffer. Kid, man, chick, child, animal, nothing. You got something, okay, cool, and yeah, I want mines too, but I'm not going to hate and demonize that person. I'm not going to condemn that person and things because they're doing what they need to do. We don't know their situation no more different than that person know mine, and you see it where people who are doing there are a lot more people doing the right thing. There's not 10 million criminals here, as they try to say, 6 million, however many. There are people with legal records who have got asylum, who got their paperwork, who came over. There are people who are citizens. There are people who are born here being dragged out. But we don't see it. We don't have the unity to sit there and stop it. I know a lot is focused on Latin America, but it's happening in the Black community. There's people that look like you and me that they're dragging out the doors too. And it's wrong. We have to do better. Another thing, reason why I think number three as to why the U.S. is losing the empire is overextension of our military power, and this has been a big issue for me. Um, Maintaining a vast global presence strains resources and may lead to strategic overreach. There's cost of foreign intervention, public opinion on military engagement in comparison with historical empires of military overreach. We all know about the Roman Empire. They don't beat that us in school. But still, my issue is that do you in some aspects, we need to be involved. And fortunately, the U.S. has served as the global police force. But we have a UN. We contribute to the UN, and other nations need to be involved. A lot more nations are being involved now, power nations. But we don't need a base every single country in the world. I'm sorry, I lost you. Hold on. Uh-oh. Okay. Sorry, you there?
I'm here.
Okay, I'm sorry. Let me get you all done. We don't need we don't need a base on every single place in the world here. I don't understand um, why um, we feel that we need to have that on every single base. We don't need. Uh, there's some conflicts that need to be handled, like what was going on in some areas of in Sweden. I'm sorry, um, Scotland and Europe. They have the power to handle that. We didn't need to be involved and try to police that. We're over policed. And saying, do you feel that America is over policing the world and
I
or
think so. I think so, but I also think that think about all of the money now that they're going to spend just to rename army bases that were renamed again. There's so much waste of money. I mean, me personally, I don't care what you call them, but the fact that it's so important to them to go back and put Confederate names on army bases and pay all of the money that it's going to take to do that is just unbelievable to me.
is because it's to show impression and oppression. Like, why would you name something off of the losers? They lost the war. Have you forgotten about that? And why you want to celebrate generals and people who did. These are people who even oppressed their own families, and they don't care. But it's because it's a middle finger to say hi black people, hi Asians, hi Latin people, hi indigenous. Screw you. And things like that. We're going to show you and remind you every single day that we white people are going to be in charge and not you. Um, what bothers me is that we have a habit of getting involved in things that or not getting involved in the right things or enough things sometimes. One and when it came to the war, we I think I've lost you again. Sorry. Hopefully, we can get you back. Um, yeah, we'll work to get you back. But one of the things that troubles me is that one war we got into late, one war we got into early, or we shouldn't have been in at all. And another situation with these wars is there's still like a bunch of different conflicts throughout Africa and some other nations that we should have long been in and helped solve. We shouldn't have to wait till children are being captured, children are being tortured, or Rwanda, other different places, Sri Lanka, just different areas that we've had all these conflicts where you didn't care because you didn't see a financial gain from minerals or oil or whatever supplies. But now, when there's conflicts in areas where there's something to be gained financially, let me get you back here. Sorry. Okay, we we got you here. Are you there, Silk? Uh-oh. Okay. Um, you there, Silk? Okay. I won't keep going. But we have to find a way to get involved and say we need to be involved in the right things that's important to us and that's going to help us in the long run. These things have to stop. The next issue, number 4, is the declining infrastructure, which includes our housing. But aging infrastructure hampers economic growth and public safety. Our roads, investment gaps in transportation and utilities, role in economic competitive, and political challenges in funding improvements. This is very big. We have situations where um, in Mississippi, Alabama, Georgia, and that those are just the initial outlier ones. where people do not have any working plumbing. They have a house and everything else, but they don't have a water system. They don't want to fix the septic system or what have you. So they have direct plumbing where it's basically going into a yard in a septic, into a ground, a pipe rigged going to the back about a few feet from your house, and you got all this smell, all this running water drainage, and it's wrong. And you have various, and there was money allocated recently by the Biden administration and said, okay, you know what? We're not going to have this. When he found this out, he put out the money to get this straight. Why it wasn't done with the previous administrations, I don't know. From the government side, city, federal, state, stuff like this should never happen. But it was done, and then now recently, the Trump administration pulled the funding for it. Why? And you don't want to help the. And then there's places in Chicago and Pennsylvania, and Pittsburgh, where there's issue of lead going asbestos in schools and lead affecting children and how they're learning, and you're seeing this going on. But you choose not to do anything. You choose not to say why. This is just wrong. The question that I want to ask regarding that in our notes is like, how does poor infrastructure like roads, water systems, and public transit affect underserved communities? It affects a whole lot because now if you don't have the basic services, now you're not able to move forward. You're not able to compete. You're not able to have access. You're not able to get to work. You're not able to have public transportation or roads if you the proper roads, and it's constantly breaking down. We see it now here in Richmond and a lot of other places with water problems, and then now you can't effectively cook, can't clean, um, can't prepare your foods, all these different things by not having water system. And thus, when you have these different things that's going on, then now further along, now start affecting your health. Um, you don't have the right trees. We've seen it in areas, and we've talked about this in several of the nature and then other, and Lord forgive me, I forgot the name of the group, please forgive me. And I got a certificate in it, but they we talked about the habitat and nature and the culture here in Virginia, and how they planted several trees that is going to make people sick. That does not work in industrial and factory areas, but they planted them just to make sure that we stay sick. um Hey, blessings. We got you back.
Yeah, I had to switch phones.
Okay, that's not a problem. See, people, this is what happens when you got money like that, like she do. She can get on 4 or 5 different phones and keep it work rolling. um, what I'll go back for a quick moment. I'm not sure you heard the last part, but we were talking about the infrastructure. Aging infrastructure hampers the economic growth and public safety, like gaps in transportation and utilities, economic competitiveness. We talked about how not having clean water, not only for your food and preparation and daily things, now you're affecting people's health, roads and bus transportation, people access to work. You're limiting access for corporations and businesses to operate in your area or even serve the area if you don't have these different things, and it's going to cause more of a trouble. What do you feel about the declining infrastructure in our country?
I think the infrastructure is declining because funding has been mismanaged. I think money is being poured into things that are completely wasteful. Um, I just even take earlier today, I had posted, we always hear about Richmond City not having any money and struggling to have money, but yet they spend $100,000 on billboards, but yet the streets got potholes and the schools need money, the water system has gone down several times or whatever. So I just think that the allocation and the mishandling of funds is what gets us into this. Time and time again we've seen money invested in unnecessary thing like roundabouts and painting a line down the street that serves absolutely no purpose, like going to Oz, follow the yellow brick road, only this one is red. So it's a lot of waste. And then the other things too is all of these top heavy salaries in government, right? We have all of these people that are getting these top heavy salaries that we don't see any work or any fruits of the labor, from them. Is again, I take right now. We got a brand new CAO coming into the city of Richmond, making $300,000 a year out the gate, and we ain't seen what he could do.
Mm-mm.
We haven't seen any work of what he done. We know what he done where he came from, but what has he done here? What is he going to do here? And so we constantly pour all of this money into these top heavy salaries. The funding never gets where it needs to get to, and that's at the ground level where the things that need to be addressed are addressed.
One of the things I've always said with this, and one of the reasons why I wanted to speak to the mayor, is that when with all the leadership positions, and I know it sounds bad, but we have to do it on other jobs. What did you do this week? So why on a separate tab on the websites, not just here in Richmond, but everywhere, where as a citizen, I can click on and see what was your task, what was your monthly goals, and what was your weekly goals, and what was done and what was followed up. So I could say, hey, the mayor, the governor, the councilman did this. So now I don't have to sit here when election time comes or anything else. Oh, I don't see anything done. You see it consistently troved online and saying, okay, this is what was done. Where it provides accountability and for your tax dollars. One of the things that I was mentioning while you were coming back was Mississippi, Alabama, Georgia, the direct plumbing. If people have water going in, but they don't have no septic system. And Biden, one of the first things, put funding for certain areas to have a septic system to build in these communities, and the state should have long taken care of it. But again, the people of color, they thought it was only affecting people of color, but it was really also affecting everybody. Now, uh, the Trump administration pulled all that funding away. And now we have these big long pipes going to Lowe's and Home Depot, and they just sticking pipes into the ground. Now you're causing
Just
environmental.
take Washington. How much money did it cost the District of Columbia just to remove Black Lives Matter down the street?
Hmm.
How much was it that important that really needed to be done? You know what I'm saying? Was there nothing else in that area that needed financial backing to be poured into it, that was a priority?
It was a priority to them because it was going to say, "Hey, we are not going to support anything that's going to remove their agenda. That's going to be focused." It was a thumb. All of this is a middle finger to our BIPOC community space to say "f you," and we're going to find every single way to say we white people are going to run this, no matter what. The fifth reason for why the American empire is going to fall is education disparities, and we speak about this often. You know, declining performances are threatening our innovation. The U.S. is not. We hear the stories, we see the promotions of one or two people here and there that's doing excellent and things, but why I've always been beating down the issue of STEM education and global competitiveness, access to education across all demographics, impact of student debt. You know, is hurting the economic mobility. I am. It burns me up not seeing. And everybody says, "Oh, we just trying to make everybody like you." Know why is it that the education is, regardless of even social funds, whatever, we put sports, we put politics, whatever. In all these other countries, 2 through 50, education is king. You know, you have schools in China, Japan, Norway, Denmark, Finland. They raising kids, both men and women. You darn near stepping out of school with high school, being an engineer and doctor. We do not put that same level of education in our communities, and then even in our smaller community, local circles, we tend to demonize and joke, and we have kids pick on somebody for being nerdy or educational or good in their field, whatever. And I'm not just saying in college resources, even in our trades, we do not put that type of thing anymore. Pressure. We came up from a society where you go to school just enough to work in the factories, but those factories don't exist anymore, and people got to understand that. We don't, kids in other countries understand what crypto are, how to do their math, whatever.
Right.
And we cannot do this. We see the jokes that they can't count money at the register, they can't sign their name. All these things we have to ramp up, just like how after 9/11 we had to go through the next year. We put like 50, 100 massive changes in travel rules and airport, train, plane, automobiles, everything. We changed the whole structure on travel, and we got it done within 2 years. And people didn't like it, but we got it done. This needs to change when it comes to our education system. It's more. It has to be more than just sitting there reading the book. We have to start incorporating more real life daily skills.
Hmm.
So, like, by the time, if I'm typing, if I'm doing this, I'm doing that, why not a bunch of kids in Miss Johnson's class is running a business? So then, and that business is run by the next group, but then that business that's running by Miss Johnson's class is funding some other projects in the school. So the local business needs, I don't know, a bunch of customer service people or typing some stuff and whatever. So instead of sitting
Right.
all day learning something, from after lunch from one to three, you got 2 3 hours worth of kids answering all the phone calls and doing something. I know there's more to it than that, but we
Right.
have to start doing more, incorporating daily things with it, and not just the simple field trip you may get to go to once or twice a year. Active
True.
things. You know, are you? What do you feel that we need to do to help our students prepare for a changing world, and also allowing innovation?
I think we need to start teaching life classes, reality life classes, things that they need for everyday survival. We need to put back economics in school.
Mm,
We need to put back the scholastic requirements. Remember, we talked about this when I was in school many, many years ago. You had XYZ amount of requirements. You had to take government. You had to take, you know what I'm saying, American history. You had to take a language. You had to take, there were certain requirements that you had to have no matter how good your grades were. You had to make these points by the requirements needed in order to graduate. Okay. We are graduating kids just to free up space. Okay. We are graduating children that cannot read, not comprehend. It is apparent by these last few elections of who paid attention or who attended a government class. Because some people don't even know the simple things on how government is supposed to work. I said a long time ago to you that we need to revamp Schoolhouse Rock,
mm.
and bring that back because that was a outstanding educational tool that taught P. I remember humming the songs to myself, in school just to get answers on just how a bill gets through and things of that nature. And it may seem cheesy and corny, but it was educational and help. There's too much foolishness on TV. There's not enough basic stuff on TV. Reality TV is not even reality. Okay. And so it's giving these children in the upcoming generation a false perception of what life is going to be. Like, we have friends that we curse out on Tuesday and then we go to Cancun on Wednesday. That's just not reality. Okay. And so our children are not even children anymore. They're being raised by electronics. Okay. They don't know what it is to go out and play and run and exercise and to share and things of that nature because it's not being taught anymore. Television and remote control and some form of electronic gadget or gizmo keeps them entertained for the hours that they're not in school.
Yeah.
um
How did we get?
Even,
How did
yeah,
we go for the fact that okay, we grew up with the Atari and the Commodores and things like that, but we still went outside.
yeah, we
You
went
know,
outside.
we still went out things, and heck, in some cases it was even more dangerous in some areas than it is now. We still, granted, yeah, you can't be 8 years old running up and down streets anymore by yourself. I get it.
Right. Right.
We still, we still got to go involved. Or why are you not putting yourself in a position to where, and then don't get me wrong, I know we got to work 2, 3 jobs to keep a roof or door open and to open and close and a roof over the head and food on the table. But why are you not putting yourself in a position where at some point in time you're taking your kids out to expose to other things, to park or school, and if you live in that bad of a neighborhood,
Right.
where are
Right.
you going to get out? At some point in time, and this is my last part with this. At some point in time, parents going to have to start taking responsibility. School, the responsibility of education is not the school, it's not the government, it's you and education at home. And if you're not doing your job to reinforce, the school. I base everything like the suitcase, the book bag, the purse, the wallet, the I forgot the other thing, the satchel, whatever. The school, all these other things with the school and everything else, we need them, but they're accessories. The primary education starts off at home. And if you don't make education and learning and reading and sharing and all these other things a priority in your home, then it won't be a priority in their life and they won't care. And this is why
True.
you have the millennials and everybody else down that's just
Right.
like, I don't know what's going on, blah, blah, blah. And you're now seeing the mistakes of the I'm not going to get a beat in, the quiet parenting, and all these other different things that's going on. It's just crazy. Number six is the healthcare system struggles with why the American empire is going to go crazy. High cost and unequal access to healthcare, comparison with healthcare systems from other developed nations, effects of disparities, and debates over healthcare reform. At the end of the day, it's just all this Medicaid and this, that, and all of it needs to go. Everybody just should have access to healthcare and be done with it. We're the only developed nation that does feels like health that be able to live in having health is not your right. I don't get that.
Right. You have to pick and choose between being well or being able to afford to pay rent or eat. And that's just crazy to me.
I feel that one of the reasons why they don't want to allow us to have healthcare because they would have too many people starting their own businesses and do more, and you don't have that control.
I agree.
Because think about it. If a lot of people are only working just to maintain healthcare, and
True.
they still, and it's like you're working to have healthcare, and you still got to pay into it, and still don't have enough. And the crazy thing, Trump was talked about, what was it recently, last week, earlier this week, we're gonna give you $1,000 to have a kid, which basically was, we need to have more white children in this country, so we're gonna give you $1,000. And I think somebody put the stat out that it costs like darn near $30,000 to have a kid, $32,000, and then 48 to 55 if you have to have a C-section. And then if you have insurance, the average cost is still going to cost you about four to $5,000 to $7,000 for a C-section with insurance, not including everything else. So how just that alone, but you don't want to give women rights to health care. You don't. You want children. My thing is that if you want more, just put A to B to C. Let's say we're going to go ahead and play your racist game. You want more white children and nobody else, but you don't want to offer health care, and there's more of them than us. So, but you don't want to give them health care so they can stay healthy. You don't want to give enough wages so the man can work and the woman. If you want women to stay out your political business, stay home, cook and clean, then pay men more to take care of a family.
Right.
Uh, you know, increase the minimum wage, and so the woman can, stop fighting women to have when the FMLA. Why are you fighting women to get that when they need that? And you want to take away the protections of women having kids. You want to force Congress people to vote, and they can't vote remotely when they have children, so children get pregnant. But you want them to have more kids. You can't have it both ways.
True.
You know, so it just makes no sense with that. Any other thoughts regarding the healthcare system, Queen?
No, I totally agree. It's just like you really can't afford to live, okay? Because if you have to pick and choose which medicines, I mean, I can only speak for my own testimony. I have to pick and choose which medicines are a real priority and which ones that I'm like, oh, well, I'm gonna just have to do without it and make the best or try to find something because it's expensive. And I feel so bad for our elderly. The older you get, the worse it gets. I mean, look at the cost of insulin. Look at the cost of some of these blood pressure medicines or whatever. It's terrible. Okay, and then they're not even making these medicines for us. A lot of them say specifically on the label that it's not recommended for people of color, but yet it's the cheapest that we can get. So we have to just take a 50-50 gamble that it's going to be, okay. I share with you, a couple of years ago, Randy and I were on a cruise and we were in a hot tub and this couple came and I noticed the man um had surgery on his chest or whatever, and we got to talking and he told me that he had open heart surgery um in Italy and where he lived. And I was like, oh my goodness, we talking about healthcare. And he was like, no, it didn't cost me anything. He was like, we only pay in our country 400 and change a month. Okay. And that covers us for the whole year. They break it down into money. It's $400 for the year. And everything, all of his stuff was included, like the aftercare and everything. And I was like, $400 ain't even. It may get you a doctor's visit here, but you surely ain't having no open heart surgery for no
Mm-mm.
$400.
No, they're going to sit there. First of all the healthcare system's going to sit there and make the doctors prove you need the surgery. If anything, they're going to make you perfect example. When I had the car accident years ago and things, I didn't have health care, and then when it did, they okay, well, you got to go through you know, the therapy, the shots, the braces, the inserts, all these other different things they wanted you to do, and the testing and whatever. Okay, we went through all of this, and we're gonna get going. COVID happened. We had to wait till a couple of years, the money to get refilled. Okay, now COVID's over. We got the restrictions up, blah, blah, blah. I'm ready to go. Nope, we got to start the whole process over again and prove why you didn't heal in COVID. Well, I didn't have the service. And then
I
now,
asked the insurance company the other day, I was like, okay, so what is the point in me going to my doctor and he gives me a medicine and then you decline it?
and then you decline it with no medical, and the people that's making the decisions have no
Okay, I
medical
was just
history.
like, that just blew me away. I was like, wait a minute. My doctor gave me this and said I need it, but you declined it.
Hmm.
I was like,
And
okay, that just makes perfectly good sense. Yeah, that made perfectly good sense to me.
exactly. I won't keep y'all long. We got three more to go, four more to go. Number seven, climate change and environmental issues, environmental degradation and climate. We talked. I was mentioning earlier about how we see they're planting the wrong trees in certain areas to make sure you get sick. Policy response overall to climate change, economic impacts, the role of the U.S. Global environmental leadership. We've fallen off on that. We refuse to stop using um, the different tools that's going to cause more problems. We somehow want to go back to coal. Just unreliable and unhealthy things. What environmental challenges do you see locally, Silk? And
Well, we always go through environmental challenges because anything that's going to harm the community is always installed or uplifted in our neighborhoods. Anything. This is going to sound really crazy, but one of the environmental challenges that I'm concerned about is all of these vape shops that's popping up all
oh
over
yeah, mhm,
all over the place. It's just like we're on like vape overload. But that and all of these fiber optics that's all over the place or whatever and stuff. And no one ever questions like these 5G towers. They popped up all over the place. Um so yeah, there's a lot of I have a girlfriend who is excellent in environmental justice. I'd like you to get her on a show, and she can really, really dig deep down into some of the ills that we are going through that every day that we are not even paying attention to.
Oh, I definitely would love to have her. And some of the other things, because I definitely very big on the environment. Number eight, technical disruption, which is just crazy. Uh, Rapid technological changes disrupt job markets and social structures. Automation impact on employment, ethical consideration of emerging technologies, and digital divide in access to technology. This is a tremendous issue for me. Only 38% of the America has access to high speed internet. We are too we are too heavy informed here on the East Coast. What was it, 65, almost 70% of the population
Hmm.
up and down on the eastern side. We need to spread out so it can help build with that. There's automation. We keep talking about, oh, bring these jobs back, but it's not going to do anything. But because the automation is going to take care of most of that, people don't want to learn other skills, and I don't want people to think technology. We're just talking about computers, Windows, circuit technology, even in trade. We refuse to grow and learn with that. One of the biggest problems I see in the factories now, they got people that can't learn how, they can't even use a tablet. They barely use their phone, but they know how to play games and call somebody and complain on social media and do TikTok, but they can't sit there and use a tablet. They got a lot of older people in their 60s and 70s and 50s that can't read and figure out how to use a tablet to be able to get the word
Right.
out from one thing to the next. And that's a shame. That really is a shame uh, that we're on all of these different issues. We need to have more women involved. We need to have more what's going on with high speed railroads. Well, I don't know why. That was a core issue when Obama first came into the first year. He had the big chart, how we're going to fix these railroad systems. And here it is 16, 17 years later, and we still don't have these high speed railroads. And every other developed nation has it. And they help bring in technology and ease of technology, ease on the environment, all these different things. What do you feel about the technology disruption issue?
Well, that's your lane, so you done said it all. I don't even begin to touch. You chastise me about this, so you've covered it. I'm not even going to touch technology.
Well, I feel just on a basic level, okay, and I'm gonna be very critical. The fact that we can use basic Word and basic Excel irritates the living daylights out of me. And we are Windows. It should even before Windows 95. We had word processing software from the 80s, and we still get people that can't figure it out. I know how it's used is different, but still, there's no reason why you're sitting there and you're looking for the whiteout on your the back key or the whiteout for your typewriter. It's just not happening. The global power shifts is number nine. Merging powers around the U.S. and this is straight up the U.S.'s fault. People come here and get educated, and then you kick them out, or you don't want to give them a job, you don't want to start their businesses or whatever. Almost every single major corporation in China and Japan and Australia and what have you, they have a lot of people that were trained and raised in the U.S., but we kicked them out. And now you have China is in other nations being a global influence. We're a nation of consumers for the most part, and we're relying on everybody else. And that doesn't mean that's not necessarily a bad thing, but we also have to have some level of balance and tools. But we also can't let everything have that much of a power, because if they say no, we're done. Most of our medicines are made overseas or in China or India, Mexico, what have you, but not here. And even if it's made on a cheap level, we still want to charge 1,000 to 2,000%. Insulin was brought down to $8, and then now went back up to $85. One person had on the news nationally. Just crazy. Uh, you know, the implication of U.S. foreign policies regarding it, and the back and forth with these terrorists, that's just a mess. And now you're just now seeing it because it takes a while on these barges, straight through Gibraltar or Panama Canal, all these different places. You see less equipment on these barges for supplies, tools, whatever we may need from different countries. Is getting less and less in these ports. What do you feel about this? So,
Listen, I don't even know where to begin with this one, right? I just really, really don't. Because, oh, I'm sorry, Mr. LP. I moved the wrong way. Um, Let me think about that for a minute. Yeah,
okay,
let me think about that one for a minute.
all right, that's no problem. And then number 10, cultural and social fragmentation. And I'll leave that as increasing, the divisions in identity politics and is eroding our national unity, which we kind of covered. Obviously, social media. I don't think so. I don't want to keep blaming tools. I know social media is blamed for a lot, but it's easy to blame something else without looking within ourselves. The same thing we blame social media is the same thing they blame about video games, the same thing they blame
Right,
about the TV, the same thing you're not going to listen to Elvis on the radio, that rock music on the radio. You're not going to, when there's books, comic books was going to be the death of us. The pen pals and reading the newspaper was going to be the death of us. Almost everything that was a form of medium was always the blame except for looking at the person. No matter what, there's always going to be a chance or an opportunity to abuse and somebody turn it. That does not
true.
mean it's going to be that way. I could sit here and give you a book on A, B, C, D, E, or G, and somebody will still complain that it's wrong. So it's easy to we're in this society that is just passive and solve everything by pointing the other finger. That person got more cookies than you instead of looking at the place that's baking the cookies. How? What do
I
you feel
think
about this?
I
Okay.
think that I think you're 100% right, but we talked about it. Social media doesn't mean that people know how to be social and have social skills. Number one, but I think even more than that, I think that we have to get back to in person communication, being able to sit. People don't even know how to talk. People would rather text somebody and type a whole dictionary or DM somebody a whole dictionary versus picking up the phone and calling or saying, "Hey, can we meet?" You know what I'm saying? Can we talk? We started isolating ourselves. To me, now that we have all of this technology, as far as access with like Google and group chat and Teams and all of that, people don't get out. They don't get together and meet and strategic plan or whatever. I mean, there's even some churches that have now gone to just being, you know what I'm saying, online. Their congregations more join online than they do than come into the sanctuary for fellowship. So I just think that we need to get back to some of, you know what I'm saying, those things. You know, going to the elders' house, checking on them, sitting with them. I used to enjoy being able to sit with my grandmother and talk, and I would sit with her. And when she got older, I would listen to the same story maybe 50 times and act like I'm hearing it for the first time. You know what I'm saying? But those things were like, important. I just had this conversation the other day where I told my family, hell to the no, I'm not cooking this Thanksgiving, because every Thanksgiving I cook, and then everybody comes up with excuses as to why they're not going to be able to make it. They're going here, they're going there. That wasn't an option when I was coming up. It was no matter what you did, everybody ended up at Nana's house for Thanksgiving dinner and fellowship with family, and then you could go and do whatever it is you wanted to do. Every Sunday, you were in church. It didn't matter if you went to the club Saturday night, you rolled out of bed Sunday to be in church and then to go to dinner, at Nana's house or whatever. We just don't do those things anymore.
No, it was always a thing. You see on Thanksgiving, the day before, that week, whatever. Sorry, the week during Thanksgiving as well. You see the people who are homeless and those who are underserved communities. they are so appreciative, and you see people getting rides back and forth to get a dinner or a meal or something and food to take home. All these different things. We would have had, I would rather us get a rent building and feed the thing and spend our money and feed 50 homeless people than, or not just homeless, but just underserved people, or people who just working every day and just don't have time and they're exhausted and they're struggling with their families. I'd rather serve and cook for them than sometimes. I'm not saying my family or your family, but I'm just saying in general, because people just don't have appreciation, families in general. And we need to do more. And you had to sit there. Remember, you had to sit there and write a speech, all the kids, and say what you're thankful for.
I
Uh,
remember that.
yeah, so and you had to dance in front of the kids and grandma, all this other stuff. It was just crazy. So we have to do a better job with it all. Um, I'm not going to keep the podcast long because I know we started late. But I want to quick hit a couple of things, and I know again it's not something that is not an issue, but it is. I don't think people understand that because of the lack of enforcement from really all administrations. I'm not going to just solely put it on Trump, but he's now starting the match. But we have Iran. Operations of the borders is increased escalation where they're attacking um, our allies. And now you have to consider sending the family back to the U.S. But they don't want to. But the U.S. don't want to pay for it. The Trump ongoing conflicts, proxy with Syria, Iraq, Yemen, tensions over there with the nuclear programs. Iran playing games with that, and then the Strait of Hormuz, where the oil route, well, that's going to play like 40% of the oil around the world. We have Russia, you know, just playing games and they don't want to do the ceasefire, don't want to allow people to join NATO. For whatever reason, they just feel they can just tell anybody what they did do, and China is aligning themselves with it, and Russia with the cyber warfare, people playing games with all the other stuff going on. And then China and Taiwan, that one China, one Taiwan, or whatever the situation is, increase exercises. And now we got Guam, and China's now has enough to start fighting people over there where we need to get the transfer out there pretty fast. Australia's on alert, which makes the Polynesian countries, Fiji, Malaysia, Indonesia, all these other different cultures out there having to be up unaware, and these people are vulnerable. Those people don't have no conflicts with anybody. They're just trying to live their lives, and then now they're going to be caught in the middle of it. The Pacific Ring out there is very big. I don't think people understand how really big it is, but if something happens, it takes days to get somewhere, no matter how much of power nuclear fleets we have. And this China, Russia, Iran issue is now starting to be a power thing where now what will happen if those three countries unite and try to attack the U.S.? Because if we can't get our act together now, we're extremely vulnerable because we're busy burning here, and then now we can't even take care of what we got out there with our troops and paying attention to do the right thing, the wars
True.
overseas. What are your thoughts, so?
I totally agree. I think that this person has set us up to be an embarrassment internationally. I think that those are the things that we need to be afraid of, because I agree with you. If those countries unite against us, we're in trouble. Hell, if China just calls in some of the money that we owe them, we're in trouble. Um, People keep forgetting that we live in the United States of China. Okay. And so they get, at any given time, you keep poking the bear, poking the bear, poking the bear, like we used to say, there ain't no fun when the rabbit got the gun. You know what I'm saying and stuff. And the States is not the powerhouse that they once was. They don't have the respect of foreign lands like they used to. And I do believe that those countries would have no problem trying us. I just don't.
No, and I can't blame, and I can't blame, and this is probably a bad thing to say. I can't blame Mexico, Greenland. Panama, Canada, being mad. Heck, sometimes I feel bad. It's like I wouldn't mind going to join Canada's military and go fight for them. I mean, it's just wrong. And you're hurting, and then you are hurting all the northern states. So people are not traveling, they're not visiting the summer things, they're not going to camp, they're not using
Yeah, because we just had, it's funny that you said that because we just had this conversation on my job a couple of days ago. We were talking, because a lot of us are cruisers and we got vacations planned, right? And a couple of us was even planning on going overseas. And it was like you're almost afraid to go out and enjoy what's your right to enjoy because you don't know, like this person is constantly messing with Mexico. Is it really safe and comfortable for us as an American to go over to Mexico? I mean, for everyone over there that likes us, there's some people over there that's very angry and mad at, you know what I'm saying, at the United States. And we got to go over there. We got to eat. We got to trust the food that we're eating. So it's scary times. You're 100% right when you're talking about traveling to places that this idiot is trying to bully over. It's not a good thing. People keep forgetting that even though you get on a cruise ship and it's all fun, there's pirates in the water.
exactly.
They still exist.
Yeah, they're like the boat of America, Seas of America, all these things with Norwegian and Carnival and stuff like that. No, you have what people don't understand is that you also have to coordinate with um
You,
besides international territories, but the areas that you're going to, you have
that
to
you go into
you
exactly.
have to coordinate with their naval and their fleet and things like that. We're not everywhere. So you got to deal with. You go to Brazil, you got to deal with their doggone navy to see what's going on, and
Exactly.
to make sure that everything is cool. And if and look, you fall over or you fell over, which somebody may be mad and pushed you over, you done. First of all, if you survive that fall, because falling into a bunch of water is just still like falling against glass, it'll break you. And then
Exactly.
besides the animals, even if you survive the water, you don't hit the boat, you're not hitting your head, you don't hit the rudders, you don't even hit the animals. You still got the doggone oh Lord, the chromosomes, the diseases, and everything else that's in the water that could get you. So it's like, what are you doing and damaging these other countries? Also, which will help also is like, I keep telling people, look at all these, everybody want to go to Cancun, the same, places. There's a lot of wonderful places
Right.
that to go to. I keep telling people to look at Uruguay, Peru, Ecuador, Ecuador. There's a lot of great places in South America that you can go to that's safe, but we don't want to go to because it wasn't showing on the housewives. I mean, it's just dumb stuff. People, we don't even go to Costa Rica anymore, and
No. And I got a couple of people that just came back from there and love it, and it's on my bucket list. But again, the fear of going to a lot of these places at this time is scary.
Mhm. And then and on top of all of that, is just put in. It's going to take a long time because it's like it's not even the government. You don't even trust the people, but that you were stupid enough to put this person in office.
Yep.
So I can't blame them. And then we see what's happening. And I'm a little sensitive to it because I've been there, lived over there, helped with the people, Romania and Poland, dealing with all the blowback between trying to deal with the people coming in, the refugees, and then Russia playing games over there with them with the oil and the water and the resources. It's like,
Absolutely.
we remember Yugoslavia, and it's not there anymore, and all the Slavic people having to deal with the pressure that's going on over there. It's just really bad.
Yep.
I say all of this and that I'm not going to leave it all doom and gloom because I try to say we all going to live positively. First and foremost, I want to give prayers to Ananda Lewis and her family. Died at 52 from breast cancer.
Absolutely.
She a pioneer, not just because of, I think every other young man felt like the woman because she was a real one that didn't get into that drama and hood mess. She was, a positive. I think if you look at Kiki Palmer, you have to look at Ananda Lewis. just giving a reference in terms of
Yeah.
what happened and all the other things. And when you look at Rosie and all the other people, black women that were on Entertainment Tonight and other places, she put the respect on young women entrepreneurs in terms of leadership, hosting a show, and a variety of different things. You didn't have to wait till you're some older woman and get on a news program or something like that. She helped broke those barriers. Um,
Right.
my the thing that I feel bad and also I wish, which outlined she did not do the same. She did not follow the advice on healthcare things, and I get the natural things and the fear, but she possibly could have lived longer if she would have went on ahead and did a mastectomy and all these other things. And I feel bad. I know it's wrong to say, and I know it's going to ruffle some people's feathers, but you have to think about when you have children and it's not about you and your fears anymore. You got to protect what's going on down the line. And I feel like when you make certain decisions, you're being selfish. But I pray that the lessons and the journey that she's been through, and she's been very open about it, that other women can learn and grow, and hopefully we can get past it. And we deal with an administration that's moving away. Cancer research, what we got in cancer research now, come from UVA, Princeton, Harvard, Yale, Brown, um, Mount Sinai, Stanford,
Hmm.
Texas. You pulling cancer program research programs from all these places here in America and around the world. Why? You know, there's just stuff like that. So my prayers to her. Also, I want to give out a couple of positive things. We all, for those who don't know, Coco Golf won the French Open. So congratulations to her. Also, MIT have the first Black woman PhD in nuclear engineering. Marina Robinson Snowden, June 8th, the first Black woman to do so, and it's a major representation matters. I know some people are upset saying, why do we got to say the first Black this, the first Black that, whatever? It matters because we don't have any women in like that in nuclear, not enough women in general, but especially Black women or Latin women in nuclear engineering and things like that. We don't have enough. Um, Clark Atlanta University, wiped out the tuition balances from everybody from 2020 to 2025 semester. So they took out everything out there, and congratulations. Also, Black Wall Street store launched, and 51% of Black-owned marketplace founded by Sterling and Benita Reed, empowering Black entrepreneurs to be a better financial terms. Also, HBCU MBA programs rankings were released and put out that 2023-2024 rankings that HBCUs are ranking higher on educational programs for MBAs, more so than some of the top public and private schools in the country. And Gallaudet University Black Deaf Center investment, $23 million were initiative was launched for student scholarships and research tied to Black deaf studies to help students because unfortunately the deaf and the blind are not getting, especially those of people of color, are not getting the support promoting equity and inclusion. What do you think about those things, Queen?
I think that you listen, you've had a lot of time to keep up with current stuff this week. So hats off to you. I wish that I had look, I wish I had the time or the mind space to even occupy that, but yeah, that is something that's good. Definitely to hear, some good news, because the world is so heavy right now. It's just too much, and that sometimes you just really want to turn off. So anytime you can have somebody share just any ounce of goodness, you know what I'm saying, that's going on in the world, is a good thing, because it's more bad than good. So my hats off to you.
Thank you. Everybody, we're going to end the show. I appreciate everybody for taking the time out and dealing with us with the technical difficulties. We'll keep working on it out there. With in the world, some things beyond our control. But when you plan and have some things together, it makes it a little bit easier. But Silk, stay with me for a moment when we end. But everybody else, thank you so very much.
Thank you so
Thank you
much.
so
Have a
much. Have
good
a good
evening,
evening,
everyone.
everyone. Thank you. And if you have any questions, comments, concerns, you can always reach out to us at enliven gm@gmail.com. Also, we have you can support us through Zelle, Venmo, PayPal, through our email. Additionally, we are also on Patreon as well. So patreon.com/is live on global media. We're there. We could definitely use your support so we can keep some things going here. It takes a lot to make this happen. So I really could appreciate everything that you can. Silk needs some new colors for her head, so
Ah,
we can get that together. Medical things, all that type of stuff. So we want to make sure this is a positive thing, and we can also work to get more support from people, other organizations involved. I thank you very kindly. May you have a great and blessed day, everybody. Bye
have
bye.
a good evening, everyone.